Big Basket presents the RCB Podcast.
The boy from Chennai who became a Bengaluru essential, from scouting to coaching to bowling to now leading the women's team. We break it down with Coach Malo. So, hi, Coach. Huge success from taking over in what's your first season. Just your own thoughts on how the season has gone for you personally as a coach in this role.
We spoke, I think,
At the start of the auction.
prior to the auction, and I did mention that it's a very exciting challenge that we have ahead. What's been really good is how we as a group have met the challenges and tried to find solutions. We had retained a very good core. To even go one step further, when we had Luke as our head coach, and he had to pull out for personal reasons, and that was challenge one. And then I was offered the job and was more than happy to do it with the mega auction coming up. And then we were very happy with our retentions. 4 solid players. And a couple of days prior to the auction, then we get hit with Perry's pullout. Again, credit to the group, the whole group that was there, and the think tank. Smithy also, who was away for some personal work, and he also was in it, trying to find a solution there. A lot of prep work between that and the auction. And then we've picked a squad. One of the players who we knew, I wouldn't say it was a challenge, but we know there's someone like a Pooja.
Yeah.
We took a punt knowing that she hasn't played for a year now, and she's been at the COE, trying to find solutions within that. We got blessed in the auction by picking a player who we may not have expected to pick. That changed our combination slightly. How do we make that work?
Yeah.
So, and then when you come to the tournament, we had that period where we played 3 games in 4 days, which included a travel day. So, the whole staff that worked around it. So, the theme that I've seen throughout, and credit to the whole crew, that we were hit with challenges throughout, and the constant urge and the motivation to find solutions. That's what has stood out. When we started playing Baroda, we won the first game, and the next 2 games we were hit with a jolt, with not understanding what the conditions were.
I don't think you were the only team that was struggling with conditions to understand them.
The thing with that is, we had set a precedent and we'd set a standard in the tournament. We'd done so well, and it was almost like it became so unpredictable what the conditions were. So kudos to the girls who put in a lot of work prepping, trying to find out how to bat or bowl in those conditions. On the whole, personally, I think it's been a season where we've been hit with quite a few obstacles and challenges, and my biggest takeaway is, how do you make a position of weakness into a position of strength? That's what has been always running in my mind, that every team, it's not going to be a smooth ride. That's what kept me motivated every time we've faced a challenge, and with the group we have together, they've helped us get to where we are today.
New season, huh?
Let's get off to a fresh start.
Fresh fruit, sir.
Hey, sunne ninkolappa.
Peace.
Anyway, do we have everything we need?
Big basket. Everything you need, boys.
Everything you need.
Delivered now.
One of, I feel, the perceived challenges for a coach really in something like the WPL and IPL as well is your overseas balance. Because you can only play 4. And, you had Pez that was covering both departments. You had to know that technically you could replace her with 2. But the balance that you found and the consistency that you've had from your overseas, I mean, the way that Nadine and Lauren Blair and Grace Harris have just adapted to the RCB mantra, that must be a huge boost for you as a coach.
Yeah, the players you mentioned obviously have done well, and while even the other 2 who played for us, Lindsay and Giorgio Walland, had not contributions that you would see on the wicket or runs column as consistently as they want, but the impact they had within the game also has been tremendous. But having 4 overseas is the way the IPL and WPL is played. It's not going to change. In the women's game, at the moment, there's a little bit more importance for the overseas, those 4 overseas slots, because our Indian domestic girls are just being exposed to the standard, and we're just 4 years into the WPL. in 10 years' time, I think it will, not 10 years, I mean, I don't want to give a number, it might be even in a year, but in time, we'll find that the domestic girls will
Sure.
also have to find a way. And credit again to our girls. A lot of our domestic girls have stood up in various times in different roles. But the balance, as you mentioned, yeah, men or women, all rounders are key. It really helps you try different combinations. You can take a well informed punt across roles because you have the flexibility of playing one extra bowler or one extra batter within in one player.
Yeah.
So they've all contributed really well. Lauren Bell has had a huge impact. One of
Do
the
have they named a forest after her yet?
yeah, I'm sure they will. I was making fun. I mean, I don't know if it's appropriate thing to say.
It
That
is, she's an exception.
no, what I'm going to say, I don't know if it's appropriate. The English came here, looted us, and now she's helping us become a much more ecological place. So I thanked her for that. But I mean, her impact has been
Yeah.
tremendous. One of the things we did try to understand in what it takes to win is the impact we can have in the power play, and she's been instrumental, even in games that she may not have picked wickets up front. Just the pressure that she's created has helped the others come in and bowl an effective spell. And with Grace, everything goes back to how we want to play. That was our obsession, how we play. You get to the finals, you don't get to the finals. Those things are sometimes not in your hand, but what you can certainly control is how you want to play on the once you step into the ground. So Grace has gracefully accepted the role that we had envisioned for her, and she's played with absolute what do you say, mastery.
Yeah.
Yeah. So even with Nadine,
Nadine, the
yeah.
first game.
Yeah.
I mean, Coach Malo, from a coach watching that first game, it's improbable across genders, even if you think in the men's game, to win from that situation.
no, absolutely. But what sticks out in my mind from that innings is her clarity. When we went into the strategic timeout, her absolute precise clarity on how she's going to go about it, what she was happy to chase at the end of it, at the when we got to where we did, and the reason why it looks almost unreal what she'd achieved was because usually when you're chasing, you have 2-3 people
Yeah.
contributing to the chase, and in the last 2-3 overs, she had to do it all by herself. So like you said, across men and women, that was one of those innings where it was meant to be. A lot of things went our way, and I'm a person who believe that you create your own luck, and her thinking, the way she's worked, gave us that opportunity and gave her that opportunity to play a blinder of an innings.
It was amazing. But let's talk about you more and strip it back. Like, how did a boy from Chennai become so ingrained in RCB? Like, your journey for both teams,
Yeah.
like, you're not doing justice to this rivalry, okay? This age-old Karnataka Tamil Nadu rivalry in cricket, because you played against Karnataka as well, right?
Lost to them in the finals. Stu will tell you about
Yeah,
it.
he has told me about it. Don't worry.
We went on leather hunt. I bowled 50 overs in that final. I remember. Yeah, but see, you can't control these kind of things. Going back as somebody who moved to Chennai, I was born in Chennai in '89, and both my parents are bureaucrats and having a bureaucratic life. They travel around the country and, if required, at times even out of the country. So as soon as I was born, I think a year into it, we moved to Guwahati for a year, and then we moved to Delhi, and I was a Delhi boy, if you could say. When I grew up, the first language I spoke, even though my background is Tamil, was Hindi. So I was there for maybe the first 5-6 years of my life. Moved to Trivandrum after that. 3 years there, and in '98 May is when we moved to Chennai. As I mentioned, my bureaucratic family, well-educated family. My grandfather is a lawyer. My sister is a nerd, so to say.
So you're a cricket nerd. It works out well.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm actually very grateful and fortunate for what my parents let me do. Imagine coming from a family of well-educated people.
Yeah.
And in 2000, when I was obsessed watching cricket, and all I was doing is taking my bats, taking stickers off, and these bats were 200, 300 rupees tennis ball bats, painting MRF, because like anybody in that era, Sachin was the reason why you watch sport. And when I told my father, I used to go play street cricket, and my father wasn't too happy about it.
Did your father, your parents watch cricket as well?
My father
Like,
claims that he was a good district cricketer. There's
Okay,
no proof to
yeah.
it. I can't go back now and see if that is true. But he claims he was from the districts, Chengalpet district, and he said he played a little bit. No sporting background.
Okay.
My parents will kill me because they both claim to have played for their college and their district. But as far as education is
Yeah,
concerned,
yeah.
it's there to be seen. So when he saw me playing the street or something, I don't think he was too happy about it. He was worried about where I might end up, and he put me in an academy. And I think 3-4 years into it, I told him I want to play the sport. So that time, very gracefully and grateful to my parents that they let me do it. And I still remember what my dad told me back then. He said, when I was your age, I didn't have a dream. I was just going on
Yeah.
good life. You clearly seem to want to play the sport.
Wow.
So go ahead and play. The only rule my mother made with my dad is let him go to any academy, he would do whatever he wants, but let's put him in a CBSE school. I don't know what the obsession with the CBSE
yeah.
was.
But you had to pass your exams and all of that, no?
Yeah,
you had to
I
go
was
to
a
that.
topper until I started playing cricket.
Wow.
Topper is wrong, maybe in top
I
five,
know, I
right?
can believe you're a topper. It's okay.
Yeah.
You can flex a little. This podcast is a safe space.
And,
So you can
and
flex.
as soon as I started playing, it was about how do I find ways to pass. So yeah, so that's how it started. Played maybe about 8-9 years of domestic cricket. I came in as a replacement. I played for the same state as Ashwin. Came in to the state team when he started playing regularly for the country. Had a few decent years, and then Washington Sundar came into the team, and he went on to play for the country. So I was
In
sandwiched,
between.
and that was evidence enough for me because when I was playing, I wanted to be the best version of what I could do, and obviously play for the country. And when that happened, I started thinking about, because as a domestic cricketer, especially when I was playing, and with all due respect to people, you don't envision a life because it may not have paid enough, at least what I wanted. And I started thinking about what after this, what did I want to do? So that was when I was 27 or 28. But the cricketer in me didn't want to give up. Was saying, still try, still try. I had a very, very good support group. My wife, Basu sir, who's our SNC, like a mentor to me. My friends, Dinesh Karthik, who again is associated with RCB. Basu was very strong on me, asking me to quit.
Yeah.
But
In this time, you didn't like give trials for any IPL teams and things like that. Like that obviously is a goal, right,
Yeah,
for domestic cricketers.
Yeah, I did attend a couple of trials, and looking back now, I'm now convinced it's good I didn't play the IPL because I know I wasn't good enough, and that helped me. But at the time, like I said, as a cricketer, you don't want to give up. So we came to a point, and I got married in 2015 to my very beautiful wife. And just note that she also is a chartered accountant.
Yes.
I didn't.
Okay, so you've really gone from the curve. You've got two boys, right?
Yes.
I will be so keen in a couple of years to speak to Coach Malo to see which direction they're heading in.
Yeah. Yeah. So 2015 got married, and this was sometime in 2019 when I kind of made up my mind that I have to start looking at what's next. And fortunately for me, at that time we were expecting our first child, Adyan, and my wife was also doing well in her profession, and there was no comparison of what I was bringing home and what she was doing. So we took the decision that, and we were also very clear that we wanted to bring up our children. So I was willing to give up my profession, stay at home, take care of the child, and she was going to continue working after her maternity period. But as fate would have it, I got a random call in July, August, if I'm not wrong, while I was playing the TNPL, the last competitive tournament I played, from RCB, and I was asked to interview for the head of scouting role.
Who do you think recommended you for this?
I mean, I know who recommended me for this. So there were two people, Basu and Sriram. Sri had worked with, who was our assistant coach back then, had worked with Mike Heston, who was our director. So I was asked to interview. And with the question you had asked some time back, I had experiences of attending various trials, and I always felt that there was a gap in what teams were looking at and what a player could offer in that on that day. So I tried to present what were the gaps, and I'm assuming 6 years later I might have presented well. But yeah, so a month later I met Mike in Bangalore, and they confirmed that I'll be taking up the head of scouting role. So our decision, the personal decision we took, flipped overnight. Wife and I, we spoke, and she's a chartered accountant. The benefit of education is you can always fall back on it, and she's like, we won't get this opportunity once more. So let's go all in and we'll figure out how it was. So that's how I came to RCB, my whole background of how I played, what happened. But yeah, very grateful for that opportunity back in September in 2019. I wouldn't have it any other way. For a Chennai boy to be able to come and help RCB change its fortune,
Yeah.
it feels good.
But also in that moment, just on a personal level, like I'm sure there's a part of you that realized that because you were still playing TNPL, that I think my game is done. Like whether you knew it or not, like you may not have been able to pursue, game on the field anymore. So you would have had to call quits on your career. What were the emotions of that actually?
Yeah, so in 2018, it was a battle within where, people who you really care about are actually asking you to reconsider your career. But the ego inside me didn't allow it. So I moved out of Tamil Nadu for 1 year and played for Uttarakhand. It almost was like a tick box exercise for me, saying that, what, I've tried everything and it's not worked. But in 2019, by the time RCB, I got that call, I was sure I wasn't going to play. I was very sure that I had to start looking at other things. I was sure. So there wasn't any doubt. I had made a media release saying that, I'm coming back to play for Tamil Nadu, but I wasn't hopeful at all. I was okay with them not picking me and me not playing. I was playing league cricket in Chennai. You need some money to come home. So that's where it was. So in 2019, it wasn't a difficult decision at all. By the time my first child was born in June, it was very clear because I think I'm that kind of guy who thinks a lot about what I want to do, and once I make a decision, regardless of what the outcome is, I don't like regretting a decision, because my philosophy is I wouldn't have my life any other way, good or bad. It's what's meant to be is meant to be, and I take my time to make a decision. Once it's made, all in.
And all in, so your first scouting assignment, what did you want to bring differently to the table as a scout? Because from the outside perspective, we always think scouts are only looking at youngsters, which is fair because you're always looking to identify the next generation who don't have the opportunities or the spotlight. But is that what was important to you?
I mean, see, there's a part where what's important for me, but the most important part is always to align the vision of the decision makers. At the time, it was Mike, who was the director, and we had, I think, Simon Katic was the head coach. And we came in a year where there was at the time 1 year left, and because of COVID, it became 2 years. So we already had an existing squad. There were only a few gaps to fill. So the initial part of my tenure was about setting up a system that worked in tandem and aligned with what the vision of the team was. So bringing in scouts, how the scouts were reporting, collecting that data, and how are we visualizing that data, what are we doing with that data. So setting up that system was what was required. Initially, there was a need because of how much money we had already spent on our retentions, that we had to find players of almost at base price. I think at that time the base price was 20 lakhs for a domestic player. So trying to ace that in 2020 was one of the things we had to do, because a lot of money was spent on more experienced and reputed players. The initial years were about setting up a system, knowing how we're scouting players. In 20 and 21, 22 was finding again the right balance of how we do it. So like in any scouting team, you get some players, you lose some players, you have to live with it. But so the initial part was always about setting up systems.
And the information that comes to you, so you will see numbers for someone in domestic cricket in the Mushtaq Ali. Do the numbers reflect the whole story? Because sometimes they're match situations, right? So temperament, like how do you as a scout judge a player's temperament? Because sometimes that's important at an elite level. And how significant for all the young players who are watching, or all the young domestic players who are watching, how important is it to consistently deliver across the formats to be noticed by an IPL team? Because a lot would be just focusing on the T20s.
Absolutely. So we try to triangulate data as much as possible. What I mean by the triangulation is there is raw data of the players playing the game. Then you have the scouting input. And then you have to give the opportunities for our coaches to make a judgment on the players. You get all those three together, and then you come to a decision together. But also what's important to understand is, maybe going to your previous question, one of the things we were very clear on doing was and my experience as a player who wanted to play the IPL and having attended a lot of trials, there's two sides to a coin. You go there only for a day, and you could have the best day and look $1 million, or you could unfortunately not have a good day. It can be perceived as you have only one opportunity. That's pressure. We're trying to mimic what happens in the IPL, but somewhere that didn't sit too well with me, because at a human level that sort of felt slightly unfair. So giving whoever we try to invite, trying to give them an opportunity which went beyond a day or two, and gave our decision makers also the opportunity to see them more than once. So that was important. The data gives us a picture. We have a Freddy now who's doing a brilliant job and trying to understand domestic numbers and make sense of it at the IPL level. Our scouts look at, like you said, the context of the runs being scored or the wickets being taken. I keep going back to this: is everything is based on how we want to play, both the men's and the women's team, how we play. So what the scouts are looking for in a player is hugely and majorly based on that, where they're looking at what the player is doing. Can this player under pressure create an impact for RCB in that role? Because this is how we can't expect a player to play in one way and then all of a sudden change. So there are attributes they look at physically, mentally, psychologically. So a lot of things that are being seen. I could go on for maybe 3 hours if I had to talk about it. But the crux of it is, it doesn't end with only numbers. There's numbers to it. There's a lot of value put in by the input of a scout, which gives context to the coaches when they see the players for the first time. So they'll understand, okay, this is why the players are able to do this. This is how many runs he scored. This is what our scouts feel.
Because temperament is so important. So I'd love to know, at what phase did Rajat Patidar enter the multiverse of RCB?
Rajat is somebody we are very, very proud of. It's no mean feat to come into an IPL franchise as an uncapped domestic player and then become the captain of one of, if not the most influential franchise teams in the world. So Rajat was in 21. We'd finished the 2020 season, and we'd already started scouting him from October 2019. It took us 1 year to be sure of the player. I myself had a personal, encounter with Rajat while playing Tamil Nadu and Madhya Pradesh, and the way he played against us is something I remembered. I had no idea I was going to be in the position that I'm. But you remember players who've created an impact.
So there have been players that you remember that you played against.
Absolutely, especially in the.
So that gives you a bit of an edge, I guess.
Yeah, because that really helped me in my initial years while scouting, is because most, if not all, the players were people who had either played against or knew about, and there were only maybe a handful who came in new at the time when I was watching scouting the domestic circuit. So Rajat had played 2-3 times against Tamil Nadu. Had followed him post that also, as because everybody says this. He's such a beautiful batter to look at. So elegant, has so much time. And then there was one game he smashed Tamil Nadu in the Vijay Hazare, and that bowling attack had Varun Chakravarti, Ravi Ashwin, Sai Kishore, everybody. And this was in again 2019 or something like that. So when we came to the 2021 auction, we were absolutely clear. We'd done all our due diligence on Rajat and knew that he was one player we wanted to pick. He started for us in the first half. That was the year when the IPL was split into two. We started in India and then we moved to UAE. Rajat had an okay start, but we were clear when the tournament was going to resume in UAE, Rajat would continue playing because the talent was evident. But unfortunately, what had happened was AB decided that he couldn't keep anymore, and he just wanted to bat. So that meant one of the domestic keepers had to come in, and I think KS Bharat came in as the keeper, and Rajat had to make way. So, but he had shown us enough, and he'd shown us that there's some talent there. I've always seen that most of the people on the outside keep saying Rajat was serendipity. It was fortunate that he came in as a replacement player for reasons that were not in his control. We couldn't pick him again in the 2022 auction. Again, very clear on how we wanted to line up. Things changed midway. The way we started off with a batting position for a few players, and that changed maybe 5-6 games into the tournament. Gave us an opportunity, and unfortunately one of our players got injured, and we knew there was a place open at number 3, and we didn't waste time at all because we knew who had to come in for us. So he came in, did what he did.
The rest is history.
Yeah, I know. And to see him captain RCB now is, I think he deserves it, and very proud of him.
New season, huh? Let's get off to a fresh start.
Fresh fruit, sir.
Hey, sunne ninkolappa.
Peace.
Anyway, do we have everything we need?
Big basket. Everything you need, boys.
Everything you need.
Delivered now.
It's incredible. We're only talking about the scouting level, but then for you personally, then work into all these different roles within the team, whether it's sitting on the coaching staff as a bowling consultant. How did all that come across for you? And in that time, Dinesh Karthik has also been told that, okay, maybe you sit on this side of the bench and, join forces.
Correct.
So a lot has changed in the last couple of years.
Absolutely. Ever since I've joined RCB, I've always been part of the core decision-making group where I input or help in making decisions. That's what it's always been in the last 6-7 years, especially in the men's and the women's team, until I became the head coach in the women's team now. Yeah, so it started off with me coming in solely as the head of scouting, and then I was offered the fielding coach's role in my first season, maybe a week before the IPL was supposed to start in March 2020 or April 2020, and then COVID hit. And then we had to wait till September. So those 6 months, I was training for cricket. I trained as crazy as I could to be ready for to be the fielding coach. So that happened. Fielding coach for about 5 years. In 24, halfway through the season, in the men's competition, I was asked to help out the spinners with Karan and Swapnil. Fortunately, there was a shift in our fortunes. We had a rough start. We started winning. The spinners started bowling well. So I think Mo and Andy were happy with what I had displayed from a coaching point of view. And in 25, I was offered the spin bowling coach throughout. And parallelly with the women's, I was assistant coach starting from the first year. Ben Sawyer was the first head coach, and then Luke came in for the next 2. There it was more helping the head coach understand how RCB works, because that was my primary job, because they were coming from the outside. I was already in the system for about 4 years, so them understanding how our franchise works, Indian domestic girls. So trying to make their job as seamless and as efficient as possible was one of my primary roles. And once the tournament started, as it would be for any assistant, try and help out the coach and help him or her find solutions at any time. So that's been how the whole journey has transpired. Started as head of scouting, was offered the fielding coach, and when Mo came in 24, we had a shift in titles. I'm now the player identification manager, which made sense, but the responsibilities are similar, where you're helping our decision makers make decisions, find players, and bringing it, presenting it to the management.
So you've had no time off in the last 6 years. No holiday. It's okay. If you're collecting trophies, it's fine.
I'm not complaining. Like I said, I won't have it any other way.
Of course, like there's so many perceptions. So it'd be a great opportunity to answer some of those perceptions and understand your perspective, because you have worked both with the men's and the women's team. Specifically now, when there is so much focus on women's cricket, right? All the men who are involved in the game are seen with a certain gaze or a certain perception. What were maybe some of the assumptions that you had that you changed, or things that you discovered about yourself as a coach or the women's game when you did enter and start working with the women's team?
I'll be very honest. When I did it in 23, it was my first time coaching a women's team. But I've been taught to believe, and I believe it now, that you first coach the person and not the player. So being it a woman or a man, you're trying to coach that person with utmost respect and trying to help them get better. Having said that, it is different. Now I've learned in 4 years how we approach coaching the men and women is different, and rightly so. I don't think you can.
Why is it different? Because the demands are different, or like what's different?
Demands of the game are different. The physicality side of it is different. The emotional side of the game is very different. As coaches, how you address that has to be different. Uh, so you have to take all that into consideration, understand the person, know what is the tone in which you speak at what time, because uh, as I mentioned, the emotional side is slightly more different in the women's game, and you have to be very respectful and mindful of where the player is at. Not to say that you don't have to be respectful or mindful while you're coaching the men, but I've noticed that you need to give a little bit more space.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
that's a good way of putting
yeah,
it.
a
Yeah.
little bit more space for the player to understand where we are coming from and what we are trying to communicate, and not look for answers immediately. It takes the time, and once the good thing I've learned is there's a lot more buy-in and a lot more trust when you're coaching the women's team. Guys, if they want to become more trustful and want to buy in, please go for it. But this is my personal experience of coaching
yeah.
the RCB women's team as opposed to the men's team there. So it's been interesting and a huge learning curve for me. So those 3 years helped me understand the sport better, the clear distinction between the men's and women's approach to how they play it, and how can we ingrain our vision or how we want to play into both teams, has taken a lot of time and a lot of conviction.
Is it been different because maybe the focus now is on the women's game, but a lot of these players grew up not really having the focus, spotlight, belief, expectations of them.
Yeah.
And it was always expected that the men are the superstars. We all grew up. Now it's a generational shift that's happened. Do you feel sometimes that's been the situation where players could have been more guarded or not as open? Or you spoke about the trust factor.
Yeah.
They really need to trust because they have been hurt by outside forces before. Now that's changing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that is one of the positives of the social media with what the girls achieved in November of 25. Uh, it's just opened out. Culturally, we are very different. Unfortunately, it was very different. So you always, for a change, there has to be a catalyst, and that was the catalyst, which I'm sure is going to be a change coming forward. The girls winning, when you're walking in the road or when you go to the ground, you can see the. I mean, I can only talk about myself. The way I saw a Sachin Tendulkar or a Yuvraj Singh or Dhoni when I was younger, I can see that when they're seeing our RCB players or any other team,
Definitely,
yeah,
Smriti. Her star power is
yeah,
unmatched now.
the way they're looking at
Yeah.
the players, it almost sends me back 15, 20, 30 years back where I was absolutely amused and wanted to be one of them. So what they've achieved, and with how the attention, rightfully so, that they're getting now. WPL as a product has helped that. RCB as a franchise to have that vision 4 years back, to buy a team and not only stick with the IPL team and give an opportunity for the women. So I think it's going to be a huge, huge shift. I have friends back in Chennai who are parents to girls who put them into playing the sport with the hope, they get to play for our country or for one of the WPL franchises. So that's a huge, huge shift. I'm so happy that we as a franchise are part of a change, a necessary change to show that, they don't have to be inside the house, get out, work, and there are a lot of opportunities.
Well, I mean, in your own personal life, that's been the case, right? Your partner's always been working, so
Yeah.
that's been the testament.
Yeah, and it's just the number of opportunities that that will open up now. Because you go from culturally, I think you come from a place where you're indoors, you can go and work, but now you can start playing sport, you can go start arts, whatever. It just, I think people will be more acceptant of our girls going out and trying to live a life of their own and be independent, which I'm very, very glad, like I said, we are part of trying to make a change. And that was one of the things, we wanted to inspire people to go and play, especially girls. And very, very fortunate that we're playing a role in it.
Were there any challenges for you personally when, let's say, management's changed or coaches changed, which happens because you've been associated with the franchise for the past 6-7 years, and there have been a lot of changes. Now it's Mo and Andy taking center stage. Now you've taken center stage when it comes to the women's team. Personally, for you, the differences?
It is a change, and I wouldn't say a challenge, so in a negative way. challenge in a positive way. But my role has always been clear, and my approach has always been clear that, regardless of what role I'm given, my job is to give clarity to whoever I'm reporting to. It was Mike and Kato when it started off, became Mike and Sanjay, and then now it's Andy and Mo. The role is very clear. So
There are no different expectations from you?
the expectations I always keep of myself. I expect myself to be the best version I can be and provide solutions as and when I'm asked. But that is how franchise cricket or life works. Change is the only constant, and you have to find ways to work around it. It's been brilliant learning curve for me. Working under Mike and Kato and Sanjay Bangar was a different learning curve. With Mo and Andy, it's different. When I started off with Ben, it was almost education for me, just being in the dugout among our RCB women's team. With Luke, almost helped me understand what it is and how to go about it. And now, as the head coach, it's almost been like a gurukul for me, being part of it. So I wouldn't a challenge, yes, but more a learning. I think it's foolish if you don't implement your learnings across the 6 years. So that's one thing that I've tried doing, is try to understand what works and how I've become better, and try to implement it as and where it's relevant.
So much administration that is actually required with your role over the years. So that's like a lot of paperwork, a lot of your presentations. But then when you're out there as a coach in the nets running through sessions, does the cricketer in you come out and just like which movement gives you that rush, which role rather?
When I decided that I'll call time on playing, you speak to a lot of people before you make the decision, and they'll say you miss the sport or something. I realized that I won't miss cricket, but I'll miss playing the sport. But to my surprise, maybe a year into it, I didn't miss playing.
Because you still have the camaraderie.
Maybe, but as a coach, it's one of the worst feelings in the first year or so, that when you're playing, you feel $1 million. You feel like you're making all the decisions. You're not dependent on anybody else. But once you're a coach, you cannot do anything once the boys or the girls have stepped into the field. So that feeling of not having control over what needs to be done is something you need to get used to as a coach. That was one of the biggest things that I learned as soon as I started becoming a coach. But yeah, I don't miss playing. I don't know why. I was actually surprised when that feeling hit me, that I didn't miss playing. Maybe because I enjoyed, or I'm enjoying what I
Because you
took
still
up.
have to make the team bus in time, right,
Yeah.
coach? So some things
Yes,
don't change.
especially now as one of the leaders of the team in the women's team, you have to set an example. Can't. But I like to pride myself on thinking that I was one of the more disciplined ones while playing, and I like continue doing that. And as far as the admin and paperwork, my parents should feel happy that there's some sort of admin work I'm still doing.
The CBSE came good for something.
Yes, it did. Because as a cricketer, as soon as you open up Excel and you put a presentation, people are like, wow. And now it's become a norm. That's in the expectation of any coach to be able to document a session and all those things. But in my role, having a team of about 10 to 12 scouts around across men and women, managing that, making sure everything is in line. We built our own bespoke app, so ensuring that's running and what we're doing with that data. So it's a mix of both. But once I get to the ground, I usually do, in the men's team, I don't think about being the player identification manager. I'm the spin bowling coach. And once I'm here with the women's team, once I step into the ground and the head coach, I don't spend too much time thinking about all the admin work. It's about how do we prep our players as best as they can.
New season, huh? Let's get off to a fresh start.
Fresh fruit, sir.
Hey, sunne ninkolappa.
Peace.
Anyway, do we have everything we need?
Big basket. Everything you need, boys.
Everything you need.
Delivered now.
2 special years that RCB have enjoyed, so let's delve into that. First, of course, 18 years of waiting coming to an end, to see by far one of the greats, one-day greats, no doubt, the chase master, Virat Kohli, the supernova that he is, down on his knees, showing every breath of his emotion, was emotion for everyone to see that moment. How did you take it in? Your initial reactions, the first few conversations that you had after that win?
Surreal moment. no doubt. I don't think anybody would be able to feel the emotions that Virat felt that night. Obviously, we had Evan, Vasu, who've been there for such a long time, Mane Kaka, who've been for such a long time. So those four individuals who've invested so much time for the franchise. But like you said, Virat, I think that was pure raw emotions from his side, and just having spent the last 6, 7 seasons with Virat, there is nobody else on the face of this earth who deserved it more than he did. The passion and the intensity and the commitment with which he comes back every year is inhuman. I have not seen it in anybody else. For him to come back, setback after setback after setback, the
Which
24
setback do you think hurt the most?
not winning the IPL.
IPL.
That I think
2016 was like a big hurt.
yeah, from the outside when you saw it, it just felt like no, that was RCB's year. The way they turned around the season, the way Virat was batting, the way everybody was contributing in that team. So 2016, I'm sure I wasn't there, but would have. I know. I didn't want to bring it up, but yeah,
Sitting right there.
yeah, yeah. But I'm sure would have been very, very difficult for that team. When I say setback for Virat, people who know him, winning is everything for him. He's gone on to become the best or the greatest batter to have ever played, which I'm sure he's proud of, but he'll be more proud about the fact that they won the 2011 World Cup, they won the 2024 World Cup.
Trophies, right?
Yeah,
He's
the Champions
back
Trophy.
to collecting trophies now.
Yeah, he's all about championships and winning. That's all. You play TT with him, he wants to win. You play PlayStation with him, he wants to win. So he's all about that. So firstly, for Virat, I couldn't be more happy, and like I said, he deserves that. Personally speaking, having worked with Mo and Andy and the work they had put in and the vision they had to be able to help in some way achieve a dream of I don't know so many RCB fans. It just feels good to be part of it. A lot of things that Mo brought in on the board were very new to me. I remember having a conversation with Mo in Rajkot, maybe a month prior to our retentions, 2025 retentions, and I said, "Boss, I don't see the vision, and I don't see how you're so convinced with it. What gives you so much conviction that this is going to work?" I still remember what he said to me that day. He said that this is all we can do. Have a clear vision of how we want to play, and we need to trust it. A lot of cliches are thrown out. I've noticed, this is a process-oriented team, one other game. But what it takes for that process was a great learning. I don't think any school, any college will be able to give me that education that I got over the last 6, 7 years. The ups and downs, how do you react to that? So with Mo also, I think he had a clear vision of how he wanted our team to play. Andy, one of the best coaches I've worked with, his communication skills, his clarity, the way he addresses challenges was one of the greatest learnings. And you spoke about my friend there, Dinesh. One of the things we did in 2022 was to bring him on board as one of our finishers.
I mean, technically, again, he's in that situation. He could have still been playing.
Yeah.
He spoke about how it was like Mo said that, okay, no, you are way more valuable.
Yeah.
With the pen in your hand or the glove in your hand rather than the blade right now, because we can help us win that way.
We did put that thought into his mind in 24, but people who know DK should know that you can't change his mind. He has to make that decision, and he's a go-getter. So I think in 24, at the end of 24, he'd had enough. I'm sure he said it also that he couldn't see himself training the way he did all over again to come in for a IPL. And we obviously knew the value he brings in from a tactical, even though he wasn't our captain or the vice captain. Just the amount of tactical acumen he had while playing for us was very evident. And me, having spent the last 15 years with him, knew how good he was. So when Mo did tell him that this is something you should consider, we obviously can't tell somebody of Dinesh Karthik's stature, stop it. He has to make the decision rightfully. He's earned that right. But he was very clear, and he was more than happy to come on board. He's also been very brilliant, very, very close friend of mine, and I'm very happy to see the effect he's had both on our batters and as a mentor on the team. People frown upon his managerial style.
What
sometimes
is his managerial style?
sometimes on the boundary where he's going changing
Oh, yeah,
field
that
here
way.
and all those
Yeah,
things.
we're so used to seeing that sometimes, and
Yeah,
it just
but
becomes part of the process.
one of the things that actually helped us get over the line in a couple of games is tactical, and that's where I think someone like an Andy Flower comes into focus for me, is that as the head coach, to not have any sort of insecurity around one of your coaches in doing this,
Yeah.
giving them the trust, giving them the space.
Now that's a
Yeah.
good statement.
Yeah, so those are things you try to pick up. So overall, very happy with how it's come up till now.
But I mean, I just have to say this team was at the end of the day a team of match winners, because so many players had the experience of winning global events when we headed into that final. So players who were terribly experienced and also knew their game and also had won big tournaments and won World Cups and things like that. So that managing that, especially around the final, what was that experience like for the coaching staff?
A lot of conversation went about what, first as a coaching staff, what we were feeling about the final, because we had to hash that out together. Vulnerable thoughts, insecurities, excitement, whatnot. Talk about it, because we had to go in as one when we were going to address the team. The team deserved to be in the final, number one. The way they played, the way we built the squad also was a leaderful and a winning squad. Like
Yeah,
you said, they'd
yeah.
won. The players who'd won the IPL in different teams, or they'd won a World Cup, or they'd won franchise leagues. Or so they knew what the occasion was, regardless. But you really have to be playing for RCB in an IPL final to know how big that occasion is.
Because it's tremendous pressure, right?
Yeah.
The expectation is like 2 decades of
Yeah,
expectation.
and that was one of the things we made very clear to the players and everybody involved in the franchise, that there is expectation, but it's not our burden to bear. That 17 years have gone by and RCB is not one. We had maybe 2 or 3 players who played for RCB, so it genuinely wasn't their burden to bear. The weight of the t-shirt wasn't theirs to bear. We deservedly got into the final, created a record by winning all away games. So we're focusing on what we've done well, and always we focused on how we wanted to play. Punjab came into the finals. We had a game plan. Nothing changed in our approach to the final. Same prep, same messaging, and I think we played almost close to a perfect game. And in the final, you just want to win.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I mean,
However you get across
yeah,
the line.
you just have to win, and that's precisely what happened in 25. So happy to have been part of that occasion. Very special, with close to 100,000 people there, and so many of our RCB fans around the world who deserve that.
One of the things I have to ask you as we look to wrap up is one of the I feel challenges for coaches sometimes can be when you get uncapped players and new players and suddenly they're exposed, right? The world is watching, the global world is watching. RCB as a franchise has already won before. So you're winners, you've been champions, you've set a certain standard. How do you get them towards that standard or comfortable with being in that glare? Like an uncapped player like Gautami Nayak doing what she's done.
Yep.
We've not seen an uncapped player score a half century
Yeah.
like that before.
I think first thing is, what we tried doing, at least we've been trying to do for the last couple of years, is we've realized that when RCB is playing, it's different. With all due respect to all the teams that are playing, it's different in the sense the attention you get on social media, the attention and the expectations of that, the crowd turnout when we are playing a game. These are very relevant and existing pressures for the girls. So one of the things we try doing is, as soon as we pick a player, we try exposing them in a very, you can't obviously expose them to 30,000, 40,000 people, but to the reality or eventuality of it and how they could cope with it. So we have our sports psychologists working on it maybe a week or day after they've been picked in the auction. And then we send them to Bengaluru to work with our coaches, depending on which skill it is.
Yeah.
So Gautam is somebody who started work, I think, a week after we picked her. So that's one thing. And that also helps us. And that process is offered to every player, which I think helps us do the things we did. 5 wins on the bounce, have different match winners. You have Radha Yadav who goes in at number 5 and score a 50 or so, which was frowned upon when we tried to make that move, and that move wasn't out of chance or well thought out, helping her prep for that. So as much as possible, be it from a physical standpoint, from a psychological standpoint, and from a skill standpoint, we try to give them as much exposure, and we try to get them prepared for it, so that once they get in there, they at least have the confidence of, I've either spoken about this, I have tools to counter this, or I have worked towards this. So as much as possible, we want them to know that it's not the first time they come into the limelight, and this is what they're going to be facing. The media attention they get, some sort of education about what relationship they can have with social media, when to use it, when not to use it, keep the comment section off, things like that. There's nothing wrong in talking and stating those things to them, because
that's what they're like. That's part of the game.
And what they choose to do with that is there. But from our side, we let them know. We don't want them to experience it without being aware. These are things that will happen. These are things we can offer you to counter it. Let us know if you want help. So the intent is what we come with, and trying to help them with that.
One of the things I wanted to ask is, like, again, it's very much the ethos of RCB to throw an event like a red carpet event. This is something that you've done before as a franchise, because you feel like the mental aspect or the personality aspect when it comes to cricketers is something that you value. Not everyone understands it though, because there's a lot of talk around doing these sort of things. What's your take on it personally, having gone through the game in different manners,
So first of all, when we do it, you take the red carpet. We had the retro night. It's one of the things the RCB women's team we do, and the reason why we do that is, one, for the players, and if you see how the whole group, the support staff, our media team, our logistics team, everybody get around together. So that's just one evening where players can do what they feel like, disconnected from the game, and you only have to see how invested everybody gets into that evening, trying to be the best dressed or trying to get funky that night. So I think it's a good thing to have in a tournament which spans only for about 25-30 days, a night where the girls and the whole extended team has the opportunity to get their mind off the sport, and it's just fun. Our media team obviously does a great job of putting it out there, and in life that people will like a few things and they'll frown upon a few things. You should be okay with what other people think. You can't pay too much attention to it, as long as the people inside here know exactly why it's happening and why it's been done.
So, Coach, as a thank you, our digital partners, Big Basket, this hampers for you. Since you're the coach, and I'm assuming you have no dietary restrictions, you can enjoy it probably the most.
Thank you.
Because I believe there's a lot of chocolates inside. So.
I look forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you for joining.
Thank you.
Big Basket presents RCB Podcast.